Welcome, everyone, to the legal zone where we tackle injustice. We just blitz injustice. My name is Salon Phillips, and I'll be hosting the show today. Today, we have with us Mr. John Salati. John Salati is one of the partners at Remus Enterprises law firm. And we also have Dr. Arlena Cheney. She is on the show to help give us a different perspective of the facts that we're going to be talking about today. This show is an important show because we're going to do something that you probably have not seen done before. We have a real live client that's going to be joining us. As you can see, he's in the waiting room, and he's going through a very serious situation. If you are a father, you would want to listen to this. You would want to watch this show. If you're a mother, you would want to watch this show because the reverse could also be taking place in your life. The facts are real. The case is real. The case is actually ongoing. It's not an after the fact case. And we're going to talk about it and dissect it today for you on this show. I think I'll go ahead and let Mr. Antonio Marsh in now. So he's connecting. Hello, Mr. Marsh, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Awesome. So, Mr. Marsh, we have John Salati with us. He's one of the partners in the firm who's been working on your case. And we have Dr. Arlena Cheney. She is going to be giving us a perspective, a non-legal perspective of your case. I was just telling the listening audience that you have a very unique case, that you're going through a situation, and I'm going to give you an opportunity to talk about your situation because it's very important. Again, this show is called The Legal Zone, where we tackle injustice. And your case is one of the biggest cases of injustice I've seen as an attorney. So all of this is real. None of this has been rehearsed. This is all live. I haven't went over anything with Mr. Marsh before now, but I would go over one thing. Now, if you're a law student or if you're preparing to take the bar, this show is going to help you too, because what we're going to do is dissect certain laws. And the first law that we're going to talk about, and I'll ask you, Mr. Marsh, this is the only thing I'm going to ask you, is that you don't use real names. We know your name and we know the other party's last name. But when you talk about anything else, just give initials or that person or whatever. And the only reason why I say that is because I don't want to risk defamation. Okay. So what's defamation? I'm going to share my screen really quick. I'm going to just use this as a teaching opportunity. So defamation is a false statement that's communicated to a third person recklessly, and then it results in some sort of damage to the person. Now, what we say about anyone is not going to be false. The one, not antidote, but the one defense against defamation is the truth. But as we start to talk about people in this live situation, and this is being broadcast, we might say something that is not true, but we thought it was true. So Antonio, you might say something about someone and you might have heard it, but you heard it and it's not true. That could somewhat open the door for defamation. That's where this reckless element comes in. So if you say that, you know, I heard Dr. Cheney used to live on the streets, right? That could be a false statement, but you might have heard it. But what did you do to look into it to see whether or not that was a true statement?
Right.
So even though you might have had good intentions because you're just relaying information that you heard, you have to make sure that you're not being reckless about it. Another important note with defamation, and this is good for law students, is that whatever you're saying, it has to be believable, right? If you say something that's just off the charts and it's false, no one believes it. If I say John Salati is from Pluto, that's false, but people are not going to really believe that, right? It has to be something that could be believable, something that someone believes, communicated to a third person, recklessly, meaning that you didn't bother looking into it to know whether it was true and whether or not, and then of course the damages. So we want to protect ourselves from that. Everything else is fair game. Everything else is fair game. I've checked. We can do what we're about to do. All right. So let's get right into the facts. And Mr. Salati and Dr. Arlena, they might ask you some questions as you're telling us your story. To just, if they don't understand something, they might ask to flesh out the facts, because we have a listening audience and someone might be going through what you're going through. And we want them to fully understand. So feel free to talk about it. So go ahead and tell us who you are and what's going on.
Well, my name is Antonio Marsh, and what's pretty much going on is, well, I've got my kids taken from me from just allegations
Okay, so how many kids do you have?
that we're talking about right here.
Yeah, we're in this situation.
Two daughters.
Okay, and tell us about the mother. Tell us the whole story from the top to bottom.
Well, in 2019, my kid's mom passed away out of nowhere in a tragic car accident, and pretty much it was going downhill from there. Like the grandma passed, like the grandma tried to take me to court to take my I guess to take my rights, get my rights taken from me initially, and she was failing. She passed away a day after Halloween too, and that's when another intervener, she jumped into the case as well.
Okay, so let's back up. So you have these two daughters. Were you married to the mother?
No,
Okay, so did you all have joint custody?
no, we don't have joint custody.
What was the custody arrangement?
It wasn't no like custody arrangement through the government or nothing like that though. It was like I think
Okay,
the government. I think no one actually really went down there because you know no one has custody until you go down there and actually do the custody thing. So I don't think honestly neither one of us actually
okay,
had the custody.
so just so you know, if the court didn't say who has custody, you actually both had joint custody.
Okay.
Whenever you have children with someone, you have custody of that child and the other parent has custody of that child. You don't have a court to tell you that. So you and the mother share joint custody. John, did you have a question?
Just keep going. I was going to start filling in. You're filling in the background. So I wanted to hear more of the background. You know, what were the living arrangements going into when things went off the charts and all that. So just keep on going where you are.
All right. So Antonio, before she died, you and the baby's mother had joint custody, and you would, how often would you, what involvement did you have with your daughter's lives when she was alive?
We was at odds. We was at odds a lot. So I probably seen the girls maybe once a month, twice a month, sometime. Like it all depends on her mood pretty much.
Okay. And were you paying child support? Were you helping out?
No. I was definitely helping out. Buying my kids clothes and things like that. Paying a couple of her bills over there as well. And like I said, just pretty much helping her with whatever she needed for the girls.
Okay.
But
And
it's just like when I couldn't. Oh, I apologize. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, it's like when I couldn't do, or I wasn't able to do certain things for the kids at a certain time, then it was always a problem. That's when I couldn't see them, but I couldn't hold her to those same standards. You know what I'm saying? So it was just crazy how I got to see them. Like I said, once a month, sometime twice a month, sometime. All depends on the mom's mood.
Okay. But you were seeing them on a regular.
Oh yeah, but I was definitely seeing them though.
Okay. And you were taking care of them.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And how old were they when the mother passed?
They were, Autumn was 9 already, and Ariel was 8.
Okay. So 8 and 9.
Mhm.
And then she passed. Sorry to hear that. Then what happened? The grandmother, you said something with her.
So when she passed, I went to the funeral. I attended the funeral, the repast, and everything like that. Met some of the family members that I haven't met, things like that, and pretty much like, because this was like in May 2019, and like July the 5th, the day after the 4th of July, I received some papers in the mail from the courts, pretty much saying that the grandma was trying to take my rights. So we started going to court. The very first court date, we like she came in there and she was talking about like some grandma rights or something like that, which was obsolete. So the judge really wasn't trying to hear that. She was pretty much going to grant me my kids that same day, but the grandma told the judge that she don't think I'm the father of the kids, but she initiated the whole court thing. But then when I was in the winning standard, like I said, she said that I wasn't the kid's father, so we had that prolonged the case for like another 2 months for us to do the DNA and things like that. So we go through the DNA, we go back to court, like, because our first court date, that first court session was like in August. And our second one, after when she said I wasn't the kid's father, we had to go do the DNA. We go back to court like October the 17th or something like that, like 2 months later. So when we go back to court, we get the DNA, and then I'm both of the girl's father and everything, and we go to proceed on with the case. And the judge pretty much was going to grant me custody, and we were taking steps into the girls moving with me. So I was getting visits. I had to go pick them up from their grandma every Sunday. The first visit was like 6 hours. The next visit was like 8 hours. Then the next visit was like, it was going to go on to like the weekend and things like that, to them initiating the reunification at the end of the day.
So let's go back for a minute. After
Okay.
the mother died, did the kids go home with you?
When the grandmother passed away?
No, the mother. We're going back
No,
to
when the mother passed away, no one wouldn't answer the phone for me after that or none of that, because I was in contact because my kid's mom, she was in the hospital for like at least probably like 10, 14 days maybe. She was fighting for a little while, but then and I was contacting with the mom. I was sending my condolences every day. Like I was telling her, I was asking her, can I come up to the hospital? She was like, no, it's not a good time and things like that. And I respected it, but I was kept sending her text to her phone and things like that. I still have text and things, but sending her to the text and stuff, sending her text through her phone, just pretty much showing my concern. You know what I'm saying? And she pretty much started ignoring me after, like I said, after the kids' mom passed. She started ignoring me. I went to the funeral, tried to talk to her and everything. She gave me the coldest shoulder I probably ever had in my life.
So the kids never came to you after the mother died?
Nope, she never. Nope, she just straight tried to go take my rights. She didn't even let me see them or anything.
Okay, and so while the kids are still with her, the grandmother files for custody of your daughters.
Yes.
And that's when that fight starts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then what happens?
And we started going to court.
Okay, so you're going to court against the grandmother
Yeah.
to get custody of your kids. And then what happens?
What you mean as far as what?
In the court proceedings.
In the court proceedings, that's what I was saying. When we went to court, our first court date was like August 20th, something around that time. Our first in 2019, we first went to court. Like she pretty much came in and said that the kids was living with her since the mom passed and things like that, and she was saying something about grandma rights, and she has the right to have custody of the kids and things like that because they were living with her. But I'm like, I'm right here. I have a job. I'm active. I'm an active dad. Like I can take care of my kids, and you can be the grandma. You can get them every other weekend or something like that. We can do that. But she didn't agree with that. So like I said, she threw in the wrench because the Judge Wingo was pretty much going to. Oh, I apologize, but the judge was pretty much going to throw like the grandma, the ruling, whatever she was talking about, just pretty much throw that out and let me get my kids, because I'm the living parent at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? I'm right here. I'm active. I'm showing proof that I'm the parent. But like I said, the grandma came up with the slogan. I mean, with the thing with the altercation that I wasn't the kid's dad at the end of the day. So that's what prolonged the case even more. So we go back to court in October with the DNA test proves that I'm the kid's dad, and we started still proceeding to what the judge was proceeding to at first, reunification with me and my kids, and them actually moving with me. And the grandma didn't like that.
All this time, the kids are still with the grandmother.
Yep, this whole time the kids were still with the grandmother.
And then something happens to the grandmother.
Yeah, and then the grandmother passed away. Like I think we did 2 visits. Yeah, we did 2 visits. Like I told you, every Sunday I supposed to got them every Sunday. First visit was for 6 hours. I got them. The second visit was for 8 hours. Then I had them. Then the third visit was supposed to be like November the 3rd, which was on a Sunday. And I didn't. And I kept calling the grandma, kept texting her and everything, and no one responded. So the following Friday, November the 8th, 2019, they called. The grandma's lawyer called me and told me that she had passed on November the 1st.
Wow.
And it was crazy. It was crazy from there. So when I get the phone call November the 8th, I go down there. I get the phone call maybe 8 o'clock a.m. that morning, November the 8th, 2019. And I was down the court building by 8:45, 9 a.m. And we were trying to reach the person who supposedly had the kids. We were just trying to reach out to someone, and no one ever contacted us. I stayed down in the court building from like 8:45, 9 o'clock a.m. to like 3 o'clock p.m. that day, trying to get a hold of my kids, because there was only 2 people in the custody case, which was me and the grandma. So the grandma passed on the day after Halloween, which means I'm the only one involved in the case. The kids, like, the case is over with. The kids go to me. So I go down there that November the 8th and I get a permanent custody order, but no one is answering the phone so I can retrieve my kids at the end of the day.
Okay, so the mother passed away. The grandmother kept them. She's trying to keep them.
Mhm.
She passes away. And so now, again, you're in a position where you're still the only biological custodial parent. You get an order, you said,
Right, I got my permanent custody order.
but you can't find the kids.
Right.
So how do you find them?
So I waited for like a week, because like I said, I kept going back down to the judge, because we know a specific person have them, and we have that specific person number, and we kept calling. We was leaving voicemails, even sending text messages. So this person actually seen it. They just disregarded what we were, you know what I'm saying? Basically the court order at the end of the day. So,
Wow.
So I waited for like I said, about 6 or 7 days, waited for like a week, trying to get in contact with her. I didn't want to do too much because they're grieving at the same time. So I'm respecting their grievance at the same time. So I'm not trying to be too forceful either, though. You know what I'm saying? So I go to my kid's school with my permanent custody order, and I do it like that. And I pick them up from school, but I do let them call their significant, the person who they're living with at the time before we leave the school, so that they know that
the person who they're living with is the aunt now.
Yes.
So the mother's sister.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I let them call their aunt before we left the school, because I took my permanent custody order, showed the principal, the director of the school, and everything like that, and pretty much was leaving out the school with my kids. And as I'm leaving out, the aunt pulls all on the curb, and she pretty much tried to hit us, and she threw my girls in the car and was like, "Don't, you're not taking my sister kids," and things like that. And I was like, "I have a permanent custody order," and she was like, "F that piece of paper," and stuff like that. And then it was pretty much been crazy since then.
Wow.
So the next time after that, right there, I waited for like another 2 days. Well, matter of fact, I went down there the same day after that happened. I went down to the 6th District Police Station and tried to get the video recording for that from that camera that was at their school, from the aunt pulling up and how she threw my kids in the car and everything like that. I was trying to get that, and then the last on the permanent custody order paper, the last motive they said to take to get my kids was to go through the police. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, I tried everything. I was reaching out to her. I went back to the judge like 3 or 4 times to have her call, you know, and then Like, and we failed. So I went to the police, and we went to the location.
So you're doing everything you can, and
Yeah,
this
I'm doing everything.
woman has basically kidnapped your kids.
Basically, yeah.
And then you
Because
you said you went to the judge a few times. What was the judge saying?
the judge saying, like, like I said, she tried to call the number that we had on file for her. She just disregarded, and she pretty much told me, like, do what the custody order says. And the last thing on the custody order was go to the police and go to the residence, which we did.
Now, you had an attorney at some point too, right?
Yeah, he passed away too, like a week before Thanksgiving or something like that.
Dang.
2020. That was crazy.
So you had the mother passed away, the grandmother passed away.
2 weeks after my kid's mom passed away, my kid's grandmother passed away, which is my kid's grandmother's mother. So their great grandma passed away 2 weeks after my kid's mom.
And then the grandmother, then
the grandmother. Yep, just like that.
All right, so now your attorney has passed away. The aunt has the kids. Now, what does the aunt do?
She doesn't do nothing. I still text her to this day.
Well, no, I mean, didn't she file something at some point before I got on the picture, before you came?
She filed to be an intervener.
Okay.
That was on November the 8th. She filed that, like I said, we called her from 9 a.m. November the 8th, 2019, from 9 a.m. to 3, like I said, 2:30 to 3 p.m. And no one answered or responded to our phone calls, our messages, or anything. So later on that day, well, I apologize.
The aunt finally gets some attorneys, and she files to intervene.
Yeah, on November the 8th.
To get custody of your daughters.
Yeah.
Are you all hearing it, John?
On the same day I get my permanent custody order, and the grandma passed away on November the 1st. Which means you had a week if you wanted to intervene or anything, you know what I'm saying, to go down there and do that. But you waited till you get all those phone calls and things like that, and then you go initiate the paperwork.
Dr. Cheney, you hearing this?
Yeah, I'm hearing, and I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
There's a thing about money. Money can divide. We agree with that. It can unite, or it can come from outside sources to help us out. If we focus a little bit on your breakup, Mr. Marsh, do you think money could have been a factor?
And which breakup? With the mom?
With the mom. And not only with the mom, all the way down to the intervener.
I don't know, money far as, like, I don't have any, like, I don't know what you mean, like, far as a factor.
Well, sometimes money comes from outside sources, the government or any of that. Because a lot of times, well, when we step to the plate to help to help to, in your case, help to take care of the children, it costs.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm wondering if outside sources, maybe government help or something like that, and could that be playing a role at all in why you're not able to get your children back?
Like, I receive government assistance or anything?
No, the people that are intervening.
Oh, they receive. I feel like they actually need the money that the kids come with, if that's what you're saying.
And we're going to get into that, because I actually deposed the intervener, the aunt, and we talk about her financial status. So we're going to get into that in a minute. John, did you have any questions?
Keep going.
Did I answer your question right, Miss Chang?
Oh yeah, there's no real right or wrong answer.
Oh, okay. No, I was just making sure I was on line with it, because I didn't understand it all the way.
Okay, so we put things in perspective. Antonio Marsh had custody. He shared custody with the baby's mother. The baby's mother passed, and by law, he was the only custodial parent. The grandmother filed a motion to take the custody or share the custody with Mr. Marsh. In the midst of that legal battle, she died. And then the aunt comes and she intervenes to either share custody or take custody. It's not clear what she's trying to do. But either way, when was the last time you saw your daughters?
The last time I seen them on camera, or actually seen them, 'cause I seen them on
When
camera
was the
like
last time they spent time with you at your home?
February. The last time I seen them was February 4th, when I woke them up, got them together, fed them breakfast, and took them to school.
Of this year or
Or February 4th, 2020.
so last year? So it's been
Yeah, that was the
over a
last time I
year
seen them.
since they've been with you.
Yep.
Wow. And so now, then you found me, and the first thing that we did was filed a motion to modify or to essentially undo everything that has been done up until this point. Let me just share my screen and talk about some of these laws that are going on here. So this law, for everyone to know, this is DC Code 16-831.02. In DC, a third party can actually claim or move a court to get custody of someone's child. But certain things have to happen. If you could see here, can everyone see that? Let me enlarge it a little bit more. A third party has to live in the same household as the child for at least 4 to 6 months immediately preceding the filing. They have to primarily assume the duties and obligations for which a parent is legally responsible. So when Ms. Dickens filed her motion with the court, she said that she was living with the children 4 to 6 months immediately preceding. Do you know if that was true?
No, that wasn't true.
Right. And we actually called one of her family members and asked her, and she said she wasn't. The judge actually asked the two daughters themselves, was your aunt living with you? And your two daughters honestly said no. So the question then is, why does this aunt have custody of your children when she does not have standing? If you don't fit this, you don't get to claim custody. But then there's something else. C, right? These are the circumstances under which a third person could claim custody of someone else's child. And this is important for all parents. All parents. We see that this particular situation, Mr. Marsh's intervener, the person who's trying to intervene and get custody, they weren't living with the kids 4 to 6 months immediately preceding, but yet they still have them. All right, let's look at number C, letter C. The third party is living with the child and some exceptional circumstance exists such that relief under the chapter is necessary to prevent harm to the child. Now, this is what, by the way, the intervener, Ms. Dickens, she has about maybe 5 or 6 attorneys working on her behalf, pro bono attorneys from top law firms. And they're filing motions and they're going along with this. But let's also talk about the guardian ad litems. Tell me about what they did when that happened. For those who don't know, a guardian ad litem, ADLITEM, it's Latin. Sometimes a court would issue guardian ad litems to help the court determine what's best for the kids. When parents are feuding, they will order this. It's supposed to be an uninterested party that they're supposed to come in and do an investigation and find out what's going on so they can go back and tell the judge, hey, this is what's going on and this is what's best for the kids. That happened in your case, right, Mr. Marsh?
Yeah.
And tell us what happened there.
Oh, pretty much the guardian ad litem came in and pretty much acted as lawyers for that party at the end of the day. When they, like you said, they're supposed to be interested in either or. supposed to be just mutual, but they came in and just pretty much attacked me, honestly.
What did they do? Tell us.
Like far as like what you want me to start at?
What did they say to you? What did they just tell us exactly step by step, some of the things that you witnessed from them or heard from them?
They just pretty much try to demise my character as a regular human being, not even lecture me, or I mean not lecture, but not even come at me as the kid's father, or question my fatherly duties, or how do I they didn't question none of those things. They just pretty much attacked me as if I was a bad person.
Did they ask you whether or not your daughters had any other family members on your side?
No, they never asked me that. They just came straight, and they actually said the names of my kid's mom, who they actually wanted to talk to, and I gave them their information, their email addresses, their phone numbers, and things like that. And they contact my other kid's mothers, and they talked to them, and which the conversation went actually decent. It was credible information for me, pretty much on how I am a parent to my other kids, which is older than my 2 kids that we're in court for right now. So they talked to those parents, and and they pretty much no looked it though. Like I said, they looking for something to bury me or make me look like a bad person. So when they get those statements from my kid's mom, they didn't hold those as credible. But it's about the kids and the well-being, and how do I treat my other kids? They told you pretty much how I am with my kids, all in all. And that was first person. That was first person. I don't feel like it can get any better than that, besides my mom and stuff like that, you know.
Right. So here's a situation, John, Dr. Cheney. And Antonia, how old are you?
I'm 36.
36-year-old man. And by this time, your attorney is dead, right?
Yeah, he passed on.
So he has 2 daughters. The mother passed, the grandmother passed. The aunt now has 3 attorneys on her side from a top firm. 2 guardian ad litems come in that's supposed to be acting in the best interest of the daughters, but they interrogate him. They don't look into any of his other family members. And they ultimately issue a report saying that, hey, the kid's just better off with the aunt, didn't they, Mr. Marsh?
Pretty much.
And he's by himself. And we see him, he's a minority man in DC. Dr. Cheney, what do you think?
I'm thinking about the fact that there's possibility of kidnapping.
Yeah. John, what are some of your thoughts?
Well, it's hard to believe. I mean, again, it's just what's happening to Mr. Marsh here, that he seems to be doing all the right things, and yet the system is failing him left and right. It's hard to hear that he's had a custody or an order from the court saying, yeah, the kids belong with you, and he can't get them, and he's not getting any real help to get them. Going to the police, going through all those scenarios, and yet it's been a year and 15 months, almost 16 months since he's last seen them. It's hard to believe all that.
Yeah, and this is our country, and this is what's taking place. And I want to make sure and say this, and this is going to be a common theme in the coming shows. There is an idea that the legal system is broken, or that the legal system is unfair and biased and corrupt. It's not. The legal system is actually a fair system. When you sit back and you study the laws, you would see that it's really objective. It's really fair. So what's wrong? How is it that we can have situations like this? It's like when I tell people about marriage. Marriage is a beautiful institution. Two people voluntarily making the decision to love and cherish and care for the other until death. That's a good thing. But selfish people, ill-prepared people, people with ulterior motives enter into a marriage, and then the marriage gets broken. Broken people results in broken marriages, but the institution is good. So it's the same thing with the legal system. Biased people, prejudiced people, corrupt people, the people that we put in charge of our legal system is the reason why we have these results that we're having now. But the law on its face is perfect. Let's look at what the law actually says in this situation governing Mr. Marsh's situation. The first legal principle governing families, can you all see that? The overarching principle that courts must consider when it comes to family matters is what's in the best interest of the child. This is what the judge should have been looking at dealing with this case. Well, then the next question is, well, what's in the best interest of the child? What is in the best interest of the child? It is in the best interest of children that they are raised by their biological parent. This issue has already been settled. The Supreme Court in this case, Troxell v. Granville, said that it's best for children to be raised by their biological parent. And there is a stipulation, unless that biological parent has been found to be unfit. There has to be a hearing about the biological parent. So Mr. Marsh, there had to have been a hearing solely on you and your fitness, and a judge would have had to have said, oh, you're not fit to be a parent. Then the circumstances that we saw in that DC case will kick in. Mr. Marsh, were you ever found to be unfit?
No, I was never found to be unfit, but the judge said that, well, she was going to give the honor temporary custody order till she seen what was actually going on, because she did have a talk with my daughters, and they did say a lot of things, but like I said, those things were rehearsed. They did say a lot of things, but this is an 8 and a 9-year-old at the time that was pretty much manipulated, excuse me, every day since I had my custody order.
And what was some
since I actually retrieved them?
And what were some of the things that the aunt said about you?
She pretty much said that I was doing pretty much disrespectful things in front of my daughters, selling drugs and smoking drugs in front of my kids and things like that. I wasn't feeding them. I just wasn't taking care of them. They didn't have anywhere to sleep. They didn't have any clothes or anything like that. I just pretty much wasn't taking care of them. That basically.
She tried to attack your character essentially, right?
Yeah, and don't forget, I had 40 open child CPS cases too. They call almost every day when I had my daughters.
Really?
Yeah.
And what happened with those? I didn't know about
they had to keep coming out for emergencies and things like that. And they seen the girls. They actually talked to the girls and everything, and they closed the case. But the judge didn't want to hear none of those things. She just heard everything the aunt said. And I came in there with a dictionary full of their medical records and things like that. The reason I changed their diet and stuff like that to pretty much protect myself. And she didn't want to hear anything. She just snatched my kids right in there. And that was it. And that's the last time I seen them.
Okay, so now this is gonna floor the audience here. She was talking about you to the judge, and this was all in motions, right? So she's saying these things, but it's really her attorneys that are putting this in paper, all right?
Mm-hmm.
Did she say any of this in court?
Say it again?
Did she make any of these statements in court about you?
Who? The judge?
No, the aunt.
Oh no, she didn't say anything.
Okay, but it was certain things that were said about you though.
Yeah, my daughter said them.
Okay. I want, because based on the pleadings that were in the court, the attorneys were making it seem as though the aunt were saying these things about you. She was relaying this stuff. So
Yeah,
I want to just show you a piece of this deposition of where I asked her about you.
okay.
Right? Again, this is a live deposition.
So you're a stay-at-home mom?
Yes, right now.
What kind of car do you have?
Well, right now, I currently have my mom's car, but
What kind of car is that?
that's a Hyundai Elantra.
But you were saying something. You said currently have your mom's car, but
Here it comes.
No, that's it. I currently have my mom's car.
oh, that's it.
Mhm.
When did you meet Mr. Marsh?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question. There was some feedback. Do you mind repeating it?
Sure. When did you meet Antonio or Antoine Marsh?
I really didn't formally meet him.
You've never met him?
I seen him, but never actually met him.
So what do you know about him?
Nothing really. I don't know him.
Wow. So when you read these, you all have to listen to this, okay? This is real life case going on. This woman has his children, his daughters, for the last 2 years. And the accusations is he's selling drugs, he's his bad father, he beats them. And then when she's under oath right now, the question is asked, well, what do you know about him? I'm thinking she's gonna say, oh, he's a drug dealer, I see him on the corner. She said, I don't know anything about him. Now later, her attorneys like flip out and they call her back at the end of this and they say, isn't it true that you know he sells drugs? Oh, yeah. And of course I asked, well, how do you know that? And she said, well, I heard. But this is all that it took for this man to lose. And let's be fair now. And this is going to go to what the judge actually did and to the case law that I just pulled up. The case law that I pulled up says there's a word, permanent, right? The law, and this is how some people could maneuver the law. So the law says, let me pull this back up so everyone could see this. Where is it? Can you all see that? Is it sharing?
Not yet.
Hold on. All right. Without a strong showing and finding that the parent is unfit, a parent must not be deprived of the care, custody, or management of his or her children. That's taken from another Supreme Court case. The word that's missing right here is permanent. So a court can temporarily deprive a parent of the care, custody, and management of his children while they do all this other investigation to find out what's going on. And that's where we are now with Mr. Marsh's case. So now that we're on it, we filed all these motions, all of these, and I should show some of the stuff that we said, John, but we've painted a picture to say that this thing is just wrong. And I think, Mr. Marsh, you've seen your daughters. How often have you seen them in the last 2 months? Or the last month, rather?
I just seen them twice on the Zoom. We meet.
And before that, When did you see him?
Maybe we were doing a Zoom way back, like last September. I think that was the last time I seen him.
Okay, so from September all the way till June, he hadn't even seen them at all. So this law that we just saw about temporary and permanent, when we talk about children, we are actually dealing with a limited amount of time. His daughters are 8 and 9. So far,
Oh, they're 9 and 11 now.
9 and 11 now, right? Because they were that age. 2 years has passed by. Every day that passes, they're growing. And if this thing continues, next thing you know, they're going to be 18, and who cares? It doesn't matter. Right? So this is why, if you're a parent and you're watching this, you have to understand the type of things that you have to do. Now, I'm going to play another part of this deposition because I asked her flat out, why do you want this man's children? Watch this.
You don't know anything about him.
Nothing pertaining to his life, no.
But you want custody of his daughters.
Yes, my nieces, yes.
Why? Can you help me to understand why you want custody of the daughters?
Because those my nieces have their best interest.
My
I have,
apologies.
I have their interest in heart. They've always been a big family, like a family.
She said she wants his children because she's their aunt. Dr. Cheney, can you please help me to understand? Because I still don't understand. And I told her I didn't want to continue to push her, but I don't understand that.
You're saying that you're asking me to help to explain why she said that she wants the children.
Yeah, what's going on as a woman? Can you help me understand this?
Maybe there's a possibility, since you brought that part in, that women are usually the homebody caretakers. And my view about that is the more we do things alike, the more we carry the similar responsibilities. But I do have a question of Mr. Marsh and you. I'm still dealing with the fact that proof of parenthood, and did that still follow him through the process to where he is today?
What do you mean?
That's still, once we say something, you can't retract it. That's the old saying, right?
Mhm.
Once it's stated. Well, I'm wondering if that part in the back of somebody's mind that can be a decision maker has actually still have this wondering if maybe it's not the father. Maybe it's good that the kids are with the aunt.
But they proved that he was the father.
How do they prove it?
He did it.
We did DNA.
I missed that. I'm sorry.
Yeah. See, back in 2019, when the grandma initiated it, right? I got my
Right.
papers. Our first court date was in August 2019. When we went to court, like I said, the grandma initiated all this. I got my papers July the 5th or something like that, saying our court date was August 17th, August 20th. So our first court date, she came in there and pretty much like she don't really know me either. Like, you know what I'm saying? We don't really have a relationship. I tried to get to know her and everything, but she snubbed me out. She told me whatever her daughter felt like she wanted to do at those times. Like she was pretty much going to go with what her daughter was doing, and not the right decisions as a parent at the end of the day. So well, long story short, that August court date, we went to the hearing and everything. The judge was pretty much going to throw her case out. The things that she was talking about, the things she was trying to pretty much do, the judge was going to throw that out and pretty much give me my kids. But then the grandma initiated and said that those kids wasn't mine. But you went down there and filed the paperwork saying like you wanted my rights. how you want somebody rights that's not their father, make it make sense. So once we go down there and she said I'm not the father and everything, that postponed the next court date, prolonged everything, and I had to take the DNA. She took the girls down, I went down. We go back October 17th or something like that, and we found out I'm 99.9% both of the girls' fathers.
So we
Yeah,
got
that's
that.
the part that I didn't get. Yeah.
Yep, we took DNA.
So that was proven. So that's out of the way. And also, Dr. Cheney, to address the money issue, I asked Ms. Dickens about her job and found out that she hasn't been working for the last 4 years.
So how she's taking care of the kids?
She is getting government assistance for having her 2 kids and the 1 other kid. Now, these are factual situations, and I know people might be saying, oh, he's breaching some sort of privacy. I'm not. This is facts that she stated openly. John, I want to ask you, sitting here listening to this, you're a different race than Mr. Marsh. What are you thinking is the cause? We know that everything that happens under the sun happens for a reason, right? Sometimes we could guess at the reason. Sometimes we could actually do an investigation and find what the reason is. Sometimes we'll never know because that reason is within people. What do you think is the reason for all of this?
Well, I think it goes back to, there's clearly a bias against Mr. Marsh. And I suspect some of it's going back to part of what we don't know a whole lot of, that is his relationship with the girl's mother. And so that dynamic is reverberating down still today. What happened between them, because for some reason, now it's not clear to me, I guess this is a question I could ask, was the grandmother living with her daughter and her grandchildren all at the same time, or did she come into the picture as living with the children after the mother died?
After the mother passed on, the mom had her own place with my kids. She wasn't living with the mom.
On her own with the 2 daughters.
Yes.
Grandmother, part of the village, as you've put Salon in some of the documents. The part of her village. Okay, great. But somehow I have to gather then they don't know Mr. Marsh. Everybody seems to be willing to admit, oh, no, we don't really know him, or I don't know him at all. And seemingly the grandmother was the same way. So, and yet they have what appears to be a hugely negative view of him. So you don't know him. We've never met the man. We don't know anything directly about him. So who do we know about him from? The girl's mother. So the girl's mother appears to have tainted him to everybody in her family. First her mother, and then I guess, of course, her sister and all that. And the court's allowing that to continue because it's all, get into fancy legal, hearsay, right? There's all hearsay. Oh, he's this, he's that, he's this, he's that. But there's never been any proof, apparently, anywhere. Nobody's coming forward and saying, oh, yes, I saw him do this. The only people who have said anything are the girls and their children.
And we know that that's not enough to put him in this situation.
No.
So I'm asking you, why do you think that he's in this situation?
Well, I think there is a real bias that an African-American man is going to face. I mean, even as Dr. Cheney said, well, one of the things is, we have this son said, well, women do the caretaking, blah, 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 blah. Okay, that's true in any community that by and large, women are doing more of the caretaking.
Okay,
But
so let's stop right
men
there then.
can't.
Let's stop right there. Because what I'm hearing you say then is that there is inherent bias against men when it comes to rearing children.
Which, all right, let's go with that. There is an inherent bias, but one that doesn't mean men can't, even if
Mhm.
they're doing more of it. Yeah, again, I'm not going to argue with Dr. Cheney on that because I think she's right. By and large, women do more
They do.
day caring. True. But that doesn't automatically mean a man cannot or will not. And then I think, so that seems though to be stacking up against him. And then I think, yes, there are these stereotypes as an African-American man that he's just not going to be there for his kids.
And what makes this such a slap in the face is that we're not dealing with two parents. We're dealing with one biological parent. And the GALs, the guardian ad litems, all what they're doing, they shouldn't even do. Honestly, they shouldn't even be in the picture because there's only one parent. And the law says that it's in the best interest of a child to be with that one parent. Now, when I spoke to them, they hadn't spoken to Antonio's mother, the grandmother of these daughters. He has 3 sisters, right, Antonio?
Yeah.
They didn't talk to any one of them. Not one of them.
And have they done a home visit?
Did they?
They did a home visit online, but they set up a visit. They supposed to came out twice to my place, but they seen my place though. They seen the girls' room. They seen how big my place was, 2 full bathrooms. They seen my place at the time.
Yeah, but
I've lost it. I lost it, but now though, like I've got put out because like I've been in the most deepest depression, stressing that I ever been in. I really lost a lot going through this right now. Y'all, I'm not gonna lie.
this is stressful.
I lost a lot. I lost a job. I lost 2 jobs, matter of fact. Like I couldn't hold nothing steady at the time. Like it's like this has been devastating to have your kids and have them completely snatched from you. No legit reason, none. Like it messed me up. It's still messed me up mentally. I'm not gonna say and lie. I know I'm gonna need a lot of therapy after this.
It's mind-boggling.
Yeah.
To know that this could actually happen and it's going on. Now let me get back to the GALs because I spoke to Mr. Marsh's mother, the grandmother of these daughters, and she was active in their lives. I've spoken to all 3 aunts. They were active, just like this aunt who's active, who's trying to take the kids now. So I asked the guardian ad litem, well, what's special about this one aunt and not special about this grandmother and these 3 aunts? And they said, well, we didn't know that they existed. So I filed a motion with the court and I tore into them. And I said that these uninterested parties didn't speak to anyone associated with Mr. Marsh. They took exception to that and they actually called, and yes, I'm putting it out there. They actually called me and wanted me to strike that motion. Now, so I'm not going to strike it because it's true. And they said, no, we actually did speak with Mr. Marsh's baby's mother. And so I said, okay, all right. So technically you're right. And this is what I filed on April 18th, 2021, that I filed a motion to reconsider. The guardian ad litems emailed me expressing concerns over statements that were made in the reply brief. On April 22nd, me and the GALs met video conference. The GAL's main concern was a sentence, but in gathering information to present to the court to support the best interests of the girls, the GALs interviewed everyone connected with Miss Dickens and literally no one associated with Mr. Marsh. The GALs maintain that this is an inaccurate statement because they did interview 2 people associated with Mr. Marsh, the 2 women with whom he has children. The GALs also maintain that they did not interview everyone connected with Miss Dickens. I don't know who, at that time, I thought Miss Dickens might have had a bunch of other brothers and sisters. Come to find out that she has no one. So there's no one for them to interview. Defendant Marsh maintains that no one actively associated with him was interviewed. He maintains that none of the GALs asked him about his other family members. He maintains that the teachers who were interviewed by the GALs were requested by Miss Dickens because they are friends with Miss Dickens. Nonetheless, the GALs are correct. The two women interviewed are associated with Mr. Marsh, albeit a distance association. Therefore, the sentence in the reply brief stating that no one associated with Mr. Marsh was interviewed is inaccurate, and that statement should be stricken. So I filed that. We haven't heard from them since. So we're still fighting. This case, as I said in the beginning, is an ongoing case. We hope, Mr. Marsh, and I'm confident that you will have your daughters. It's just a matter of time, and it's a matter of whether or not the judge wants to humble herself and say, look, this was only temporary, and I see now that they need to be back to you. Thank you for being on the show. Dr. Arlani, John, is there anything else you want to say before we close?
I'd like to know what relationship Mr. Marsh had with his daughters prior to, or maybe post, right after the death of the grandmother. Because the role of a father with the daughters prior, even with the mother, there was some kind of relationship if he's supporting them the best way he could have, right?
Mhm.
Mr.
We had a decent relationship. We had a good relationship. That's why I said when I just had them, when I got them from their aunt, it wasn't no grievances with them moving in with me. They just came on home. They knew that they been had rooms at my place because they came over on weekends. Some weekends, like I said, when the mom was not mad at me for no apparent reason, or because I couldn't give her money the way she wanted money. Just because I have it doesn't mean I have to just give it to you all the time. I know how to pretty much spend money and use money. Like it's just the way you do things. You know what I'm saying? With money, you don't just because you have it, just spend it. You know what I'm saying? You have to save. You have to proportion it off. You have to, you know what I'm saying, be aware of your finances at the end of the day. So I'm not just going to keep doing certain things like that. But long story short, our relationship was awesome. Was awesome. But like I said, it's been tainted from the grandma and the aunt as of now. You know what I'm saying? Me and the mom had our differences, but what she never did was like wipe me out to my kids. You get what I'm saying? If we had differences, me and her, we'll discuss it. She may be mad at me for a couple of days, maybe a week or so. All right, she'll get over it. But that's the mom. I can go through those things with the mom. You get what I'm saying? It's just
why was sometimes she's mad at you? Did you all have a relationship itself other than just the children?
Like, as far as like, no, we didn't have like, it was like, say like if, like her, what I'm trying to say, what's the word I'm trying to find?
Okay,
like the things, like, go ahead, I apologize. What you was gonna say?
No, go ahead.
Like the things that she just wanted to do, like for the kids, like you wanna do like things that the internet, you know how the internet pushes people to be more than what they actually can do or what they actually are. And I'm just trying to get her to understand those things for my kids. Don't be pushed by something. If you don't have it at a certain point, and we can't pretty much go half on it for the girls because it is too, you know what I'm saying? Then we got to hold fast for a week or so. Like and then she just didn't agree with that because she see that I'm making money and I have jobs and then I'm just pretty much sitting down and I'm saving. Oh, I always have it. No, I'm saving for a college tuition for everyone too. Like I want them kids to have their own bank account. I want them to have certain little things though. You get what I'm saying? I can help you with half. You get what I'm saying?
I do.
Florida trip, you get what I'm saying? Florida trip is $1,400. I have $800, and you just get the rest. So like, I mean, you never met if I had the $1,400 or I didn't. If I didn't have the $1,400, then she was mad. It was just crazy. And like I said, I could deal with that from the mom because I know it was just temporary. Law, you'll get over it. You get what I'm saying?
I do. And the last part that I wanted to ask, if you know the answer to this,
yeah.
I hear from what you're saying that the mother was never married.
No.
The grandmother married.
Oh no. She oh yeah, and she kept
The aunt
she
married.
never.
So, because
But
we
there's an interesting story with that because
That's definitely interesting. It's no male. It's never been no male figure around them at all. But me, honestly.
yeah,
okay.
I asked the aunt, was she married? And she said, yes, but they never lived together. They're separated. They got married year one, even though they never lived together. Year two, they were officially separated. And now he's like nowhere in the picture. Yeah. So was that all, Dr. Cheney?
Yeah, because there's a notion of culture, and you can be
Yep, that's what it is.
subcultures. It can be various cultures, and culture basically the way we do things. And
See, my kid's mom, she didn't meet her dad till maybe 4 years ago, because her mom, the grandma who was taking me to court, she kept her dad from them. And I met him. I actually met him. He came to the funeral. I met him at the funeral. He came to me, shook my hand, it told me who he was and everything. My daughters didn't meet him till maybe like 3 years ago. Because once my kid's mom met him 4 years ago, she had to grow into him for that 1 year. She didn't immediately let my daughter see him. You get what I'm saying? Because she didn't even know him. So it's just crazy. Like and then the very first court case, the very first court date, he actually came and he seen that the grandma was in losing stands, and he was explaining to her how she was in losing stands. This is the father. Just adapt with the dad, and maybe we can have a relationship still with the girls. But you trying to pull the girls from him, maybe sometime in life, he might don't want you to see him at all for the things you've done. You get what I'm saying? He was trying to explain that to her, but like she pretty much didn't want to hear. And like I said, I didn't see him no more after that. He just didn't want to deal with it because I feel like he feel like it was happening all over again to him. You know what I'm saying? Watching me do it and what she probably put him through back then.
And that's part of our message, that it's not an either or thing. It's not like it's Antonio Marsh is going to have the kids and the aunt is out, or the aunt. We're saying, look, bring this family together. Mr. Marsh is the biological father. That's a fact. And Miss Dickens is the aunt. No one's going to kick her to the curb and she never sees the children again. So that's that. We would like to be able to come back, Antonio, when this is all over and talk about how it worked out for you. Because I'm confident that it is.
We're sticking with you, Mr. Marsh. We're sticking with you all the way through.
Thank you.
Yes, we are. Thank you, Antonio, for taking time today. And like John just said, we're going to continue to stick with you, man.
All right. Thank you. Guys have a good one.
All righty, you too.
All right.
All right, guys. Doctor, any parting shots?
Well, I want to point out, I mean, you've and what Dr. Cheney was just bringing up, this multi-generational situation where you have women who are raising children without men. I mean, now you created a culture that now becomes self-reinforcing of keeping perhaps not only, maybe there would have been a point in this progression where they wouldn't have wanted this, but now it's gone on so long that it's almost become second nature to keep the men out. So that may be pushing part of this. And then I want to go back to something you said very early on, Salon. The law, the institution, there's nothing wrong with the institution. That is, as I was hearing that, the laws themselves are perfectly workable. The problem here is that the people who are engaged in this situation with Mr. Marsh are using tainted information and a series of biases that are now infecting the guardians ad litem, the aunt, and then maybe somehow it's even impacting the judge, that you're not making decisions in line with the law. The decisions are being made in line with biases, and their biases are against him. And here he is, an African-American man who has a job, who has a home, and yet, no, that's not good enough.
Hmm.
We've never met him. No, we know nothing about him. No, we haven't investigated. I mean, again, the guardians ad litem, it's like, well, let's even say, you said, well, they shouldn't have even been here because he's the only biological parent. So I get your point sort of as a legal thing. But all right, best interest of the child moment. The court wants this objective data. Tell me what's going on. Fine, but they didn't do it. And somehow the judge hasn't seen it. If they had just done their job, assuming there were two parents, go look at his household, go look at his family, go talk to the people and say, well, what's wrong with this man? Are you finding out anything of what they're saying about him? Oh, he's dealing drugs. Are you doing your job and doing the investigation? Are you coming up with any of that? If they had done their job, again, we wouldn't be having this conversation because they would have put in their report and the judge would have said, well, duh. There's no reason, as you've argued in court documents, Salon, that the law says he's a biological parent. He hasn't been adjudged unfit. Game over. There's nothing left to say.
Right.
And so that's why we have to stick with him.
Yep. That's why we are tackling this injustice, and we'll continue to do that. Our next program, we're going to have another very interesting case. Dr. Cheney, you talked about kidnapping. The next case that we're going to discuss with the client is clear kidnapping. You're not going to want to miss this. That would be either next week or 2 weeks, somewhere within the next 2 weeks. Thank you, Dr. Cheney. Thank you, John. It's always a pleasure having you all. And we will see you next time.
Okay.
All righty, you all. Take care.
Okay.
Have a good one.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching our video. For experienced legal services in Washington, D.C., Alabama, and Washington State, visit our website at remuslaw.com or call us at 1-833-329-1799.